GBV, Episode 19. Hello family. Hello pre-squad. Hello and welcome to the pre-show. I'm your host Princess and I'm thrilled to bring you the latest and greatest in gender-based violence. GBV, you're a seasoned expert or a newcomer to the scene, this show is all about learning. I'll be bringing you unique content, and of course, I want to hear from you. So be sure to leave a comment or send me a message with your thoughts and questions. So sit back, relax, and join me as I dive into gender-based violence topic. Let's get started. Gender-based violence, GBV, refers to any harmful act that is perpetrated against a person's will and is based on the individual's gender. This can include physical, sexual, psychological, and economic abuse, as well as harassment and intimidation. GBV affects people of all genders, but it disproportionately affects women and girls. It is a serious human rights violation and a public health issue that has far-reaching consequences for individuals, families, and communities. There is no single reason why men abuse women, as it is a complex issue with multiple causes. However, some possible factors that can contribute to men's use of violence against women include societal norms and attitudes that condone violence and devalue women. Power imbalances between men and women, which can lead to men feeling entitled to exert control over women. Trauma and stress, which can lead to individuals lashing out at those around them. Lack of effective and appropriate conflict resolution skills. Substance abuse and addiction. Mental health issues, such as anger management problems or personality disorders. It is important to note that not all men abuse women and many men actively work to prevent violence against women. Additionally, it's important to recognize that men can also be victims of domestic and sexual violence. There are several strategies that can be used to prevent violence against women, including 1. Changing societal attitudes and norms that condone or excuse violence against women. This can be done through education and awareness-raising campaigns, as well as through efforts to promote gender equality and respect for human rights. 2. Providing support and services to survivors of violence. This can include offering safe housing, counseling, and legal assistance, as well as providing education and job training to help survivors become financially independent. 3. Holding perpetrators accountable for their actions. This can include enforcing laws that prohibit violence against women, as well as ensuring that the criminal justice system is responsive to the needs of survivors. 4. Addressing the underlying causes of violence. This can include efforts to reduce poverty and inequality, as well as addressing issues related to substance abuse and mental health. 5. Empowering women and girls. This can include providing education and job training, as well as supporting women's participation in politics and other leadership roles. 6. Encourage reporting and provide access to legal and healthcare services for survivors. 7. Training for professionals such as teachers, healthcare providers, law enforcement officials, etc. so they are better equipped to recognize and respond to cases of violence against women. It's important to note that violence against women is a complex and multifaceted issue, and a comprehensive approach that addresses multiple levels and sectors is necessary to effectively prevent it. Why do women who are abused keep going back to their abusers? There are several reasons why a woman who has been abused may return to her abuser. Some of the factors that can contribute to this include fear of retaliation. Abusers often threaten to harm the victim or their loved ones if they leave, which can make it difficult for the victim to leave the relationship. Lack of resources. Many victims of domestic violence are financially dependent on their abuser, and may not have the resources to leave. Emotional attachment. Even though an abuser may hurt the victim may still have feelings for the abuser, or may believe that the abuser can change or that the relationship will improve. Isolation. Abusers often isolate their victims from friends and family, making it difficult for the victim to seek help. Hope for change. Some victims hope that the abuser will change and stop the abuse, or that the relationship will improve. Societal stigma. Many victims are ashamed of the abuse they are facing and they don't want to seek help because of the societal stigma attached to it. It's important to note that leaving an abusive relationship can be extremely difficult and dangerous. It may take multiple attempts before a woman is able to leave permanently. There is a need for more resources and support, such as legal and financial assistance, safe housing, and counseling, to be made available to help women leave abusive relationships. Let us also discuss men abuse. Yes, men can also be victims of domestic and sexual violence. Men may also experience physical, emotional, psychological, and sexual abuse, as well as stalking, from partners or family members. Like women, men may face barriers to seeking help and may be hesitant to report abuse due to societal stereotypes and the stigma that men should be able to protect themselves. It's important for society to recognize that men can also be victims of domestic violence and that support and resources should be available to them as well. In what ways men are abused? Men can be abused in similar ways as women, including physical abuse. This can include hitting, punching, kicking, or using weapons to threaten or harm the man. Emotional abuse. This can include verbal abuse, name-calling, threatening, humiliation, manipulation, or controlling behavior. Psychological abuse. This can include gaslighting, mind games, or other tactics that are meant to undermine the man's self-esteem, self-worth, and mental health. Sexual abuse. This can include unwanted sexual advances, sexual assault, or rape. Economic abuse. This can include controlling the man's access to money, preventing him from getting or keeping a job, or stealing his money. Stalking. This can include following the man, showing up at his workplace or home, or constantly calling or texting him. It is important to recognize that men can also experience domestic violence and that it's not limited to physical abuse. Some men may have a hard time admitting that they are being abused, or may not be aware that the behavior they are experiencing constitutes abuse. It's important to create an environment where men feel comfortable seeking help and support, and where they are believed and taken seriously when they do. Why men are not talking about their abuse or reporting it? There are several reasons why men may not talk about or report their abuse. Societal stereotypes. Men are often expected to be strong and self-reliant, and may be reluctant to report abuse because they feel it would be seen as a sign of weakness. Fear of not being believed. Men may be afraid that they will not be taken seriously or that their abuse will be dismissed as being exaggerated or fabricated. Fear of stigma. Men may be worried about how others will perceive them if they reveal that they are being abused, especially if the abuser is a woman. Lack of understanding. Men may not know that what they are experiencing constitutes abuse, or may not be aware that help is available. Lack of resources. Men may not know where to go for help, or may not have access to the same resources as women, such as shelters or counseling services. Fear of retaliation. Men may be afraid of what the abuser will do if they report the abuse. Fear of legal repercussions. Men may be afraid of getting their abuser in trouble, especially if they have children with them. It's important to create an environment where men feel comfortable seeking help and support, and to make sure that resources are available to men who have experienced abuse. This includes providing counseling, legal support and safe houses, and raising awareness about the issue of men experiencing domestic violence. It's also important to have a more inclusive and diverse definition of domestic violence that includes men as victims and not just women. There are several reasons why men may not talk about or report their abuse. Societal stereotypes: men are often expected to be strong and self-reliant, and may be reluctant to report abuse because they feel it would be seen as a sign of weakness. Fear of not being believed: men may be afraid that they will not be taken seriously or that their abuse will be dismissed as being exaggerated or fabricated. Fear of stigma: men may be worried about how others will perceive them if they reveal that they are being abused, especially if the abuser is a woman. Lack of understanding: men may not know that what they are experiencing constitutes abuse, or may not be aware that help is available. Lack of resources: men may not know where to go for help, or may not have access to the same resources as women, such as shelters or counseling services. Fear of retaliation: men may be afraid of what the abuser will do if they report the abuse. Fear of legal repercussions: men may be afraid of getting their abuser in trouble, especially if they have children with them. It's important to create an environment where men feel comfortable seeking help and support, and to make sure that resources are available to men who have experienced abuse. This includes providing counseling, legal support and safe houses, and raising awareness about the issue of men experiencing domestic violence. It's also important to have a more inclusive and diverse definition of domestic violence that includes men as victims and not just women. Are children abused too? Yes, children can also be victims of abuse. Child abuse includes physical, emotional, and sexual abuse, as well as neglect. It is important to be aware of the signs of child abuse and to report any suspected cases to the appropriate authorities. It is a serious issue that affects millions of children worldwide and can have long-term negative effects on their physical, emotional, and mental well-being. It is crucial to take action to prevent child abuse and provide support for those who have been affected by it. Children can be abused in a variety of ways, including 1. Physical abuse. This includes hitting, slapping, shaking, burning, or otherwise causing physical harm to a child. 2. Emotional abuse. This includes verbal abuse, such as name-calling, belittling, and threatening, as well as withholding love, attention, or other emotional support. 3. Sexual abuse. This includes any sexual contact or behavior with a child, including fondling, rape, and exposing a child to inappropriate sexual material. 4. Neglect. This includes failing to provide for a child's basic needs, such as food, clothing, shelter, and medical care. 5. Child trafficking. This includes the recruitment, transportation, transfer, harboring or receipt of a child for the purpose of exploitation. It is important to note that abuse can happen in any setting and by any person, including family members, caregivers, teachers, and other adults who interact with children. There are several ways to protect children from abuse, including 1. Education. By educating children about abuse, its forms, and warning signs, they can be better equipped to protect themselves and recognize when something is wrong. 2. Reporting. Encourage people to report suspected abuse to the appropriate authorities and make sure that everyone knows how to do this. 3. Background checks. Conducting background checks on people who work with children, such as teachers, coaches, and caregivers, can help identify those with a history of abuse. 4. Creating safe spaces. Creating safe spaces for children, such as schools, youth clubs, and other community centers, where they can go for support and help. 5. Support system. Support systems for children who have been abused, including counseling and therapy, can help them recover from their experiences and move forward. 6. Laws and policies. Implementing and enforcing laws and policies that protect children from abuse and hold abusers accountable for their actions. 7. Child protection services. Having effective child protection services that can investigate abuse allegations and take steps to keep children safe and hold perpetrators accountable. 8. Community awareness. Raising community awareness about the issue of child abuse so that people can work together to identify and prevent it. It is important to note that the best way to protect children is to create a culture of zero tolerance for abuse and to work together to prevent it, identify it and respond to it effectively. Well folks, that's all the time I have for today's show. A big thank you to all of you for tuning in and supporting my channel. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and learned something new. If you did, please like and share this video and don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. I have something lined up for next week's show, so stay tuned. Until then, keep smiling, keep learning, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.